recreating the golden age of New Zealand railways, WW644 is one of two of its class beautifully restored and operated by the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. Both WWs appeared in the reenactment in October 2022 of the 1922 opening of the Waiuku branch line. Since being Mainline certified, 644 has ventured to the Waikato on a number of occasions, but its biggest journey was in June 2025 when it travelled to Palmerston North over 4 days. For the steep grades between Taumaranui and National Park, the 5 carriages and tank wagon totaled 167 tonnes, just 13 tonnes under the maximum limit for a WW over this section of line. After an overnight stop in Owakuni, the train provided locals with a ride north to National Park in the morning. While in Palmerston North, the 9-carriage train provided the public with trips to Fielding and Woodville. Two months after these shots were recorded, the North Auckland line was closed after the Auckland anniversary weekend floods in January 2023 caused considerable damage to the railway infrastructure. Repairs were finally completed after 20 months and the line reopened in September 2024, now with the DL class operating the service. So far, there is only one return service operating Monday to Friday each week. A couple of DCs working hard on the grade from Oraki to Pariwa Tunnel. The evidence that the railway moves 30 imported containers efficiently from the ports of Auckland in one movement that would otherwise travel by truck and trailer on Auckland's Southern Motorway. Train 138 arriving at the Mission Bush steel mill with pods of lime used in the manufacture of steel. And the other resource for iron making is coal from the Waikato coalfields, with an average of 3 coal trains each weekday to feed the 4 multi-hearth furnaces. The Northern Explorer operates from Auckland to Wellington on Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays, and from Wellington on Fridays, Sundays and Wednesdays. In December 2016, KiwiRail announced that the 16 EF still in service would be phased out over the next 2 years. Fortunately, this never happened, and the decision was reversed, with 15 of the class being modernised and overhauled. recently refurbished EF class on the climb from Te Koeti to Kaupaki. A memorial was unveiled at Ongarue in July 2023 to commemorate the tragic rail accident that took place on Friday the 6th of July 1923 just before 6 a.m. The overnight passenger express from Auckland ran into a slip containing several large boulders, derailing the locomotive and causing the second, third and fourth carriages to telescope into each other. Of the 200 passengers on board, 17 died and 28 were injured. The Ongarue disaster remains the third worst railway accident in New Zealand's history. The express was rounding a curve to the right of this shot. Trains 225 and 234 are the two regular daytime freight services that operate over the North Island main trunk. The rusty abandoned rails leading to the Ravensdown bulk fertiliser store in Fielding no longer use rail to transport their product. The Capital Connection is made up from ex-Auckland transport carriages that were rebuilt from ex-British Rail Mark II stock. These had been used on the Auckland Suburban network from 2003 until the first being phased out in 2014 after the introduction of the new electric multiple units, with the entire fleet withdrawn by September 2015. 104 were relocated to Taumaranui in 2014 for storage, but slowly deteriorated through vandalism and graffiti attacks. The Capital Connection departs Wellington Station for its 136 km long evening journey to Palmerston North. The 325 metre long Awatere double-deck road rail bridge is located north of Seddon. Being single lane for road traffic, it was a bottleneck on State Highway 1 with very tight clearances. In 2006, work had commenced on a replacement two-lane bridge that opened in December 2008. After the Transalpine arrives in Greymouth and the passengers have disembarked, the train heads to the freight yard to be serviced, and the locos run around before heading back to the platform for the return journey. A fully loaded 2,000-ton collie climbing Casbank in the late afternoon haze. At Otira, an additional 4 DXC locomotives are attached for the steep 1:33 climb through the Otira Tunnel to Arthur's Pass. The first two DM-class locomotives built by Stadler Rail in Spain for KiwiRail. These two prototypes were unloaded at Lyttelton in October 2024 and began test runs between Christchurch and Bankside in January 2025. Stadler are building a total of 66 of these locomotives at a cost of $403 million. 47 will be based in the South Island and 19 in the North Island. Train Y22, coming off the North Taieri line, with export containers of milk powder and cheese from Fonterra's dry storage facility that opened in 2010, formerly the Fisher & Paykel whiteware manufacturing plant. A shunting service based at Edendale serves the large Dyke and medium density fibreboard products plant in Mataura, including the Alliance Meatworks and a tannery. Mainline Steam's AB 663 and Fielding Steam Rail's WAB 794 climbing above Cloudy Bay south of Blenheim. They were heading to Dunedin as part of the railway station centenary celebrations held during Labour Weekend 2006. The grand cavalcade of 7 steam and 5 diesel locomotives. The first excursion to depart north after the celebrations was 663 and 794. Next away was Steam Incorporated's JA 1271 and Mainline Steam's JB 1236. This image stirs memories of the South Island Limited from the 1960s, accelerating away from Dunedin on the second stage of its journey from Invercargill to Christchurch. Fielding and District Steam Rail Society ran their new Plymouth Express on Sunday the 13th of November. Hauled by DFB 7010 and using the Capital Connection set, the excursion departed Fielding at 8 a.m. Passenger stops were made at Martin and Easttown. Climbing Westmere Bank, with the view slowly being blocked out by the vegetation. The steep 6 km long Westmere Bank north of Ongarue has always been a challenge for both diesel-electric and steam locomotives. Mainline Steam's JB 1236 nearing the top of the Westmere Bank at Blueskin Road on a local excursion from Wanganui to KiwiRail. Passing through Waverley, that was an important country station until it was closed in 1986. Passengers had a 2-hour stopover in New Plymouth before heading home.
the return service passing Symes Road south of Kaiwi.
AB 608 was built at the Addington Railway Workshops, Christchurch in 1915 and was the first of 141 of its class that dominated New Zealand's railway system. .608 was named Passchendaele in honour of the many New Zealand railwaymen who had served their country during the Great War. It carries the red War Memorial nameplates on its running boards. Of the 141 AB class built, there are 7 that are in preservation, 3 of which are in service. 608 with steam incorporated, 699 at the Pleasant Point Museum and Railway, and 795 on the Kingston Flyer. 795 was built as a WAB class tank locomotive similar to WAB 800 seen here, and was converted to an AB in December 1947. AB 608 departs Ohakuni on its journey north to the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. While at the Glenbrook Vintage Railway, 608 hauled a mixed train for the rail fans on a wet South Auckland day. arriving at Glenbrook station with its semaphore signals and signal box, water vat and hand-operated crane, a scene recreated from a bygone era. Labour Weekend 2018 saw a special rail fans event held at Middlemarch on the Taieri Gorge Railway. Two visiting locomotives from the diesel traction group at Ferrymead made their way to Dunedin for the occasion. It was the Taieri Gorge Railway's operations manager Grant Craig who was the catalyst and who was able to achieve the seemingly impossible, to organise a hugely successful rail fan event. DG 772 and DJ 1209 depart Dunedin Railway Station to reposition rolling stock to Middlemarch. DJ 1221 leads DI 1102 and DG 772 on the climb to Salisbury Summit. Middlemarch is either the start or the finish of the Otago rail trail that follows the 152 kilometre long Otago Central Railway formation to Clyde. There are a number of operators who offer self-guided cycling packages, bike hire, accommodation, luggage transfers and transport. The first section from Middlemarch to Hyde was opened in November 1995, with the remaining section to Clyde opened in 2000. The trail is best enjoyed over 4 or 5 days and passes the Hyde railway station with its small collection of heritage goods wagons. Further along the trail is Ranfurly Station and Goods Shed, followed a short distance further Wedderburn. The DI and DJ then provided rides between Middlemarch and Pukerangi, followed later in the day with the DG and DJ. arriving back at Middlemarch with the Rock and Pillar Range in the background. Crossing the road rail bridge at Hindon at the end of the day's events as the train returns to Dunedin. Explore Otago with scenic train trips with Dunedin Railways that includes the incredible scenery in the Tairi Gorge, the Seasider featuring stunning panoramic views of Otago's rugged coastline, and further north to the charming town of Ongarue. K88 hauled the first train between Christchurch and Dunedin in 1878 on the newly opened Main South Line. In 1902, some of the Ks were transferred to the line between Gore and Kingston to haul passenger trains, where they earned the name Kingston Flyer. After retiring from service in the 1920s, they were dumped in the Oreti River in Southland as riverbank protection. K88 was exhumed in 1974, and so began the enormous task of restoring K88 to working order, a massive job headed by the late Bob Anderson. Completion of the project in 1982 gained New Zealand's rail heritage movement international attention. Back in 2004, K88 was joined by K92 from the Waimea Plains Railway for a weekend of Rogers K action at the Plains Railway south of Ashburton. K92 had also been rescued from the Oreti River in 1985. Both were built by the Rogers Locomotive and Machine Works in the USA, K88 in 1877 and K92 in 1878. In 2006, K88 travelled by road to Dunedin to take part in the railway station centenary. 15 DE class were New Zealand Railway's first diesel-electric locomotives, introduced from 1952. Most of the fleet had been retired by February 1988, but 7 made it into preservation. Number 507 operates on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway, while 509 is in storage. .504 operates on work trains on the Taieri Gorge Railway. .511 and 512 are owned by the Diesel Traction Group at Ferrymead Heritage Park. 512 wearing its New Zealand Railways computerised traffic monitoring system number 1429 and painted in the fruit salad livery. Since 2015, 1429 has been on lease to the Weka Pass Railway, where it was repainted in its original red livery and renumbered 512. .508 and 505 are at the Silverstream Railway in the Hunt Valley. During Queen Elizabeth's royal visit of 1953-54, 2 DEs coupled together hauled the North Island Royal trains.